guys, it's Amber. Welcome to my May book wrap up. So this is the books that I was able to get through in May. I can tell you from my TBR list, if you watched that a few videos ago, I was able to finish 6 out of the 8 from the list, I think, yeah, or 5. 5 or 6, I can't remember which it was. I actually should have reviewed that video before I recorded this for myself because I can't remember for sure. So a couple of them weren't, that I did end up reading, weren't on my TBR. I just wanted to read them. So as far as my TBR list goes, it was, I think, 5 of them out of the 8. So not too bad. My goal was 8. I got through 5 and 7 books total for the month. So let's jump into it. Let's see what I got through. So the first one I have to share with you, and as if you haven't been familiar with my book wrap up, so it's a book to bar and bars series. So my other passion is home fragrance. And I am a Scentsy consultant, so Scentsy, well, it's my favorite anyway, but even if I wasn't a consultant, but that's what I mainly focus on is Scentsy. So when I'm reading, I do like to have home fragrance going, and so I like to pair a home fragrance with the book. That, for me, either it was what I was feeling or something that I feel like really fits with the story, that sort of thing, or I just wanted to melt it at the time. So here is my bars and my books. So the first one that I finished in the month of May was The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, and this was the first of the spin-off series. It's a continuation of her Cruel Prince series. Sorry, I'm trying to get to my iPad. It decided to go out on me. Okay, yeah, so it's a continuation of her Elfhame. I can never remember the actual name of the series, but it's a continuation of that. And it's about the sibling of one of the main characters in the first series, named Oak, and Ren. So Ren is the main, is the point of view you get in this book. And Ren is a fairy. She comes to find out she's a fairy. She was a changeling, so she was put in a human's home and didn't even know that she was a fairy until her real parents ended up coming and taking her away from her home. And it was a loving home. It was a home that she loved her parents and she loved her sibling. And so there was a lot of trauma that ended up happening when she found out she was a fairy. And her parents come and get her actual fairy parents. And I can tell you, in Holly Black's fairy world, these aren't nice, sweet fairies. These are more along the lines of the legends and stories and myths that you get from back in the day. So they're cruel. They can be tricksy and cruel and vicious. So that's the type of fairies that you're dealing with in these novels. So Ren is thrust into that world, and she ends up with a lot of trauma because of it. She ends up getting away from Elfhame through some things that happened in the prior novels. And because of that, she's out in the wilderness, in the wild, living in the human world, but not really living in the human world. And she's kind of helping other helping humans that get tricked by other fairies. She found out she has the ability to break curses, and so she secretly ends up helping these humans that get tricked by fairies. Well, Oak comes along, and she knew him from when she was a child, and she's like, I think when the story, the actual storyline takes place, I think she's 17 or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's around the age she is. He comes along and they end up going on a quest together, and end up finding out some things that are surprising. I don't want to spoil anything, but this is kind of a quest type book. So I personally enjoy those types of books. Like Lord of the Rings is my favorite series. That's about as questy as you can get, for sure. But I know I just want to mention that because there are those that aren't really big into quest type stories. Ren and Oak, there may be feelings that end up being developed, and they end up having to go to her parents' land, something, I can't even remember what it's called, Land of Teeth and something or other. I'm gonna look. Court of Teeth. Yeah, Court of Teeth is where her parents used to rule. And they're going there to try and defeat her mother, type of thing. So lots of stuff happens. It's a quest, and yeah, this was really good. I did really enjoy this. I gave it about a 3.75, so super close to 4 stars. We'll see how things continue. It was interesting I liked both Ren and Oak, and the more minor characters were good too. But they were both great main characters, I felt like. And I will continue the series. Actually, if you watched my, if you watched my summer book bingo picks, you will see that I do have the second book in the duology as one of my choices for that. I will link it at the end or down below for you guys, so you can check out that video too. So 3.75s, it was great, a great continuation from The Cruel Prince. Like I said though, these fairies are not sweet, nice fairies. Although Ren and Oak, they had moral compasses. Ren specifically, because she had grown up with humans and stuff, so she has more of a human heart than if she had grown up as a fairy in Elfhame. So great book. And as far as the wax that I felt like was a really great pairing for this story, I chose the Endor Forest. Look at that cute little Ewok. So this is like cedarwood and balsam fir needles, and it's just foresty and delicious, and it just pairs so nicely with the story because, like I said, they're on a quest, so they are going through the wilderness, they're going, so it was a perfect match in my opinion. So this is available on my website now, the Star Wars collection. It recently launched, so these bars, every bar I'm sharing is available for you guys. But anyway, this is beautiful. It has a sweetness to the balsam, and then that woodsy cedar. It was the perfect choice. So that is my first read. The second read I have for you guys is, let's see this one, The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. And this one I gave 3 stars to. I enjoyed this a lot. It's driving me nuts. My iPad keeps on going out on me. Okay, yes, so this story I did enjoy. I did like it. There were some things that kind of bugged me, and I get that it was supposed to be, number one, it is in a fictional world, so obviously I know it's not the same. But my husband, before he retired, he was a peace officer, and so to see to see guards and whatnot portrayed terribly, like all of them portrayed like they're all evil practically, is hard for me. Even though I know this is fiction, this isn't even set in normal world. But as the wife of a peace officer, a retired peace officer, it's kind of bugged me, obviously. But I tried to get over that because, again, it's not the same thing, and that's not, the point of her story is, different. It's not real life. So I do understand that. That's just a personal bias on my part. There are quite a few twists and turns in this. Some of the twists I did see coming. And then there were a couple that did actually surprise me. So this is about a girl named Kiva, and she is wrongly imprisoned with her father. Her father is imprisoned, and she's imprisoned with him, even though she's innocent of anything. She's not guilty of anything. But her father was wrongly accused of doing something that may or may not be true. And so it follows her through the story, and she ends up becoming the healer for the prison. So she helps those that need healing in one way or the other. And so she kind of gets flack from some of the guards, and she gets flack from a lot of the prisoners because she's like a favorite of the warden, because she keeps her head down, she does what she's told, she does what the warden wants her to do. Even though she's there helping and healing other prisoners, she, you know how it is. she has a hard time on both sides. Then she ends up going, and another prisoner comes in. She ends up healing him and branding them. When they first come in, new prisoners, they get branded on their hand, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was. And she ends up helping him, healing him, branding him, and they end up kind of developing a friendship from there. And they're all the government is trying to find this rebel queen who is starting a rebellion that dates back, I guess, quite a while, to where there used to be two rulers that had different type of magical abilities, and now the only ones that have magic is the royal family. The one royal was banished, and so the rebel queen is the one that is like trying to start a rebellion, saying that she's the one that has the right to the throne. And so there's this kind of like a civil war about to happen. So it's all about that. So lots of twists and turns. And yeah, it was a good story. I did, like I said, enjoyed it. I just had to get over my little bit of bias, I guess. But I did enjoy it. It was a 3 stars for me. So the bar that I decided to choose to go with this book, I felt it was appropriate, was Hoth Winter. So this takes place in winter specifically. And so it's cold and wet and freezing and type of conditions in the prison. And so minty, cold, wintry type scent was the perfect choice for that, for sure. So that is the Prison Healer. Okay, the next one I have for you is called The Shadows Between Us, and this is by Trisha Levenseller. This was only a 2-star for me. It is about a girl named Alessandra, and she has her sights on the king. He's called the Shadow King because he ends up having these powers, these shadow powers that kind of protect him, but it's where he can't touch anyone, or no one's allowed to touch him or they're put to death type of thing. So she has this ambition to marry the king and then to kill him and take the power for herself. So I guess the king has to, well, he doesn't have to, but his council is trying to get him to marry someone. So they have a thing where all the eligible ladies come and he meets them and he decides if he wants to court any of them. So Alessandra has it in her head that she's going to go and catch the eye of the king, and it's about all that. So it's about their relationship. It's about her desire for power and not having, she doesn't want love. She doesn't want anything to do with love. So it's about that. So the book, like I said, it was only a 2-star. It kind of fell flat for me. I thought it was going to be a little bit better. There wasn't much in the way of world building in my opinion. And then the relationship between Alessandra and the Shadow King, that wasn't that developed, I felt like, before things, before things really happened. So 2-star, I didn't hate it, but it was just okay. Now the bar I decided to go with, oh, it's so nice, is Tatooine Sunsets. So not every single bar is a Star Wars bar, but these first 3 were Star Wars bars. So this one is cardamom, it is pink pepper, and vetiver. So this is, to me, like a very kind of spicy, kind of hypnotic type of scent. And I felt that kind of represented Alessandra's like desire to get power and to like manipulate her way to the throne. So I felt it was a nice combo. So that's that one. Okay, the next one I have to share. Oh, before I read this one though, I did start reading Funny Story by Emily Henry, but I DNF'd it. I ended up deciding to stop reading it. I'm not afraid to DNF a book, and that book, I don't remember her other books having this issue, but for this book, there was a ton of bad language, and I can tolerate a little, but it was like constantly through what I had read. And so it just wasn't worth it for me. It was turning me off from the story. It was taking me out of the story. And so I stopped reading it. I usually like Emily Henry's books for the most part. Beach Read was my favorite. Love that one. But yeah, I didn't finish Funny Story, unfortunately. It just wasn't for me. But I've heard a lot of good things that other people really enjoyed it. So just not for me. Okay, and then after that, I read A Magic Steeped in Poison. And this is, let's see if you can actually see it. There we go. This is by Judy I. Lin. This is a very unique magic system. I did really enjoy this. So this is about a girl named Ning. And she has, she's called a Shenong 2, I think is what she was called. It's someone that is an apprentice to become a full-blown like magician in the arts of tea is what it is. So they're called the full-blown wizards of tea is what I'm going to call it. Or called Shenong Sai? Yeah, I'm sorry. I do not remember what they were called. This was like the middle of the... This is why I got a reading journal and then I haven't used it. This is why I should be using it. Because I cannot remember specific names. Anyway, she has magic through tea. She's able to wield magic through tea, through ingredients of tea, different teas, able to do different types of magic. So she ends up entering this contest for becoming the next, like, I'm just going to say wizard because I cannot remember the exact name. Shenong Sai, Shenong. Anyway, sorry guys. She wants to become the next magic tea wielder to help out her family. Her sister is seriously ill. Someone has been poisoning people and killing them through tea. So this takes place in a fantasy land, but it is an oriental type of fantasy land. So it was really good. I really enjoyed this. 4 stars, almost 4 stars. I rated it as 3.75 stars. The writing was lyrical and lovely. It was beautiful. The magic system, as I said, was very unique, I felt like. I did enjoy it. I just didn't feel, it only got 3.75 because I didn't feel fully connected to the characters like I felt like I should necessarily, but it was a really neat story, and I could see myself continuing, but it's not like high on my priority. So the bar that I went with for this book, it seems like a no-brainer. It is raspberry hibiscus tea, which is raspberry hibiscus, wild raspberry hibiscus petals, and elderberry sugar. And this seems, like I said, no-brainer. This book is about tea. This is a tea. This is tangy and sweet. It's so nice. So yes, absolutely had to choose that one. Okay, then after that, I read, finally, The Night Circus. This has been around for quite a while. It's been on my TBR list for a long time, and it actually made my actual TBR for May. And so I was like, okay, I'm finally going to read it. So this is by Erin Morgenstern, and this is about kind of a contest between 2 people that are forced into the contest by their mentors. One is a father, one of the mentors is a father of the daughter, and then Celia, and then the other is just a mentor to, and he's called Mr. H, I think, Mr. A-H. You never know his actual name. And he finds this boy who he ends up teaching to do magic from an orphanage. So they are bound to this contest that they end up not being able to have any way to get out of. At the beginning, they don't even know who their challenger is. The circus is created, and it's created all for the contest. But the other players, the ones that created and end up being a part of the night circus, they don't even know at first that any of this is happening. Celia and, what was his name? Marco. They at first don't even know that they're competing against each other. So this book ends up having very whimsical, it's not a linear timeline. It jumps around, and there are actually 2 different storylines happening. So the main storyline about Marco and Celia, and then there is another storyline as well. And then those storylines come together at the end. But until then, the storylines kind of weave together, they jump around, all that sort of thing. So it's not lyrical at all, or not lyrical. It's not linear. The timeline is not linear. But I enjoyed this book. I just really wasn't super attached to the characters. I enjoy a good plot-driven book, but if I'm not attached to the characters, then I guess I like a balance, because I do like character-driven stories, ones that don't have a lot going on as far as plot goes, but I like a good balance, I think, is my favorite type of story. So enjoyed it, 3-star read, but yeah, it wasn't, I know there's a lot of people that do love this book. It was good. I'm glad I read it finally. So the one I decided to go with as I was reading this is Rainbow Sherbet, and this is orange zest, sugared strawberry, and lime, right? Yeah, key lime. So this I felt like it was a good representation of Marco and Celia's relationship in the contest. It kind of was sweet and fruity, not fruity as in they're nuts, but it's a sweet, fruity scent, yet there is like this extra zing of magic, so to speak, in it. So this, I forgot to mention, this is like a magical realism book. So it takes place in our world, but there is magic, even though a lot of people don't realize that the magic is real. So, all right, next up, this was my 5-star read of the month. I adored this book. I can't wait to continue the series. It is Once Upon a Broken Heart. So this wasn't a part of my actual TBR list, but when I got it in, I wanted one that I felt like would end up being a really good one for me. I decided to just go ahead and read it. So Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is a spin-off series of her Caraval series, which I read all 3 books last month, if you watched that video. And I am so excited to say that it did not disappoint, because I had heard really, really good things about this one. So this takes place in the same world. As I said, it's a spin-off, and it is about a girl named Evangeline. And she is someone that was raised on fairy tales. She lives in, can't even remember the name of the country. The same country that the other books are in. So she ends up like the country's hero, or one of the country's heroes, because she ends up sacrificing herself for her stepsister and her love and the other people in the wedding party, because she goes to what's called a fete, and they're kind of like immortals who aren't the best type of people. She goes to the Prince of Hearts at the beginning of the book because she has a broken heart, and she feels like she's in love with a guy who all of a sudden decided to marry her stepsister. And so she goes to the Prince of Hearts, she finds him, and makes a deal with him for him to stop the wedding, because she feels like her love was cursed. And that's why now all of a sudden he wants to marry her stepsister. So Jax, who's the Prince of Hearts, he fulfills her bargain, but it wasn't in the way that she was expecting, and they get turned to stone. And so she stops it. She sacrifices herself by drinking this potion, who releases all those people from being stone at the wedding, and she becomes stone herself. So that's the beginning of the book. And then from there, she ends up released, and the Queen of the Land, I don't want to spoil the other series, ends up sending her, because she's the hero of one of the heroes of the land because of her sacrifice, sending her to this other country in the north. Now, this country is where her mother had been from. Her mother and father have passed. It's where they had met, her mother and father, in this country in the north. And this country has a lot of fairy tales, like come to life kind of thing, So she gets sent up there as a favor for the queen to like build good relations, because the prince there is having, it's a tradition there to have a ball to find his next love. Like until he finds his love, he can't ascend the throne, is kind of what it is. And so that's where the story starts. And let's see, what else? She ends up taking her stepsister with her up north because she feels super bad about what happened with her stepsister. She feels like her sister was manipulated by her mother, and Evangeline's stepmother. So anyway, it's a good book. And lots of twists and turns for sure. And yeah, I love Evangeline. She has rose gold hair, which I think is super cute. And I love Jax. He was one of my favorite characters from the other series, from the Caraval series. So I was so happy that he is like one of the main characters now in these books. So highly recommend it if it sounds good to you. If you love a good fantasy book with some romance in it, it is a great book. I can't wait to continue the story for sure. I've already requested the other books from the library. So we have Daydream Oasis to go with this. And I picked this one. This is in the fresh category, I think this is. Yes, it's Sweet Melon, Pear Leaf, and Water Lily. And this is a sweet, it just feels kind of like a fairy tale to me. Is kind of why I picked it. The name, the scent, it's fresh and lovely. Feels kind of like Evangeline, yet there's a kind of sharpness to it too that feels like Jax. And so I was like, oh, that one's perfect. That will work out really well. So that was Once Upon a Broken Heart. And then the last one I finished is actually a novella. It is The Mysteries of Thorn Manor. This received 3 stars for me. I did really like it. It was a fun read. It is a continuation. It's like a continuation of Margaret Rogerson's Sorcery of Thorns, which was a 5-star read for me. This is a super fun book. It's about, I don't know why I can never remember their names after I read it. Elizabeth and Nathaniel, right? Nathaniel's the guy? Yeah, Nathaniel. So they've defeated the evil that was in the original story, and now he's healing and she's living there in Thorn Manor to help him with Silas, their servant / she's a demon. So that magic sorcerer people, they have like a servant that helps them that are like these demons. So it sounds like it's evil, but it's not. I mean, they're not good necessarily, but he's been serving Nathaniel's family for centuries. So it's about them, and things start going wrong with the Thorn Manor, and they're like trapped inside. And they're trying to figure out what in the heck is going on. Why is the manor like rebelling against us to where we can't go outside? All the hedges are starting to come alive and they're trying to attack them if they come out the door. So they're kind of trapped inside and trying to figure out what's going on. So it was a fun little story. I really enjoyed being back with the characters, and it was cute to see how it ended up wrapping up, like what the problem really was in regards to why the house is doing what it's doing. And yeah, it was a sweet, cute book. It's hard for me to rate a novella really higher than 3 stars though. I would say maybe 3.5 stars for this because I did really enjoy it. It was cute. And again, fun to be back in this world. This was a series that I did wish the author would have continued. It's not even a series. It's one book, standalone, and then a novella. I wish she had made it a series, is my whole point. So to go along with that, I decided to do Very Vanilla. which is creamy vanilla and tonka bean. So it just felt like a nice one that would work well with the old-fashionedness of Thorn Manor. Plus it's sweet because the love story is very sweet in it. Yet you get that more grounded tonka bean in it that kind of went with the old worldness of the house type of thing. So anyway, that was it. So that was my May wrap up. Yeah, that was my thoughts. Have you read any of these books? What do you think of them? I have to say, I'm really, really hoping that there is a happily ever after for this series. If there isn't, I feel like I'm going to riot. I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous. But yeah, I didn't have, the only one that was kind of just okay, like I said, was the Shadows Between Us. But everything else I did really enjoy. So tell me what you've been reading. What did you read in May? Do you have a wrap-up video? I would enjoy watching it. Have you read any of these? All those things. So I just like to chat with you. So thank you so much. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.